have a good vacation at the end of the month.
Hello.
That was so funny.
Daddy, why are we going slow?
So we decided to put our 2-year-old, our 3-year-old, our 5-year-old, and our 15-year-old dog in about 250 square feet of space in this Airstream and travel around for the next year. Hey everybody, we're gonna go get some breakfast, and then after that, you know what we're gonna go do?
Get the RV.
Yeah! Even though that we started and we're about a month in, that whole process took at least like a month and a half. So even though it feels like we just started, the reality is we've been doing this for a while, because we had to drive through 4 or 5 different states, stay in hotels every night as we were driving out, pick up the Airstream, and then head back, and then stop at RV stops all the way back because we weren't ready to really hit the road yet. We had to get back to Nashville and pack all of our stuff.
And turn our house into an Airbnb.
Daddy, tickle us.
You want me to tickle you?
Yeah. Yeah. Try to tickle.
Is that how you get the ocean going?
Yeah, it runs water. And down here, it's not the ocean. It's steady.
You made it!
Well, we would get 2 queen beds, did we get usually? And one of us would stay in one bed and one of us would stay in the other, and the kids would just pile up around us. And they were getting used to shared space just like we were getting used to shared space. And every single time we'd stay in a hotel, as we journey along, I kept seeing myself in the reality that that hotel space was actually bigger than how big our living space would be for the next year that we would be doing this journey. It's like it kept getting smaller in my head, and I kept trying to imagine what it would be like. Every single night before we'd go to bed, there'd be this crazy amount of chaoticness, and then all of a sudden everyone would fall asleep and it was quiet, and I was like, whoa, that was so hard, but it's so quiet right now. And they had a lot of fun.
We were always fighting with this. We need to rush ahead. We need to go get the thing. We need to start the adventure. But whenever we would feel stressed out and anxious like that, one of us would have to remind the other, like, no, we're already on the adventure.
Jump.
All right.
Oh, this is your pretty daddy. Yeah. Biggest horses in the whole wide world. Oh, how yucky. Come on. I pet the horse.
Are you scared, Harper?
Do you know that Price's nose and most horses' noses are so soft and shit?
No, you can't come out. Unless I know.
You want to pet a horse?
Yeah.
Well, let's see if there's any horses over here to pet, and then we can... Well, we had traveled through all these states and cities, Little Rock, Oklahoma City, Amarillo, and we finally were getting ready. It was the night before. We're getting really excited because this is going to be the day that we actually pick up our Airstream. And the people that are selling this to us are awesome. They actually did the same thing we're doing, where they traveled full-time for a while in this Airstream. So it felt like it was a very like-minded experience. They really give us a lot of advice. But we get our van backed in. I start hooking up the hitch. Nicole's inside checking out some things with the Airstream. We're all plugged in and we're ready to go. And then we realize the brake lights aren't working. Say hi. So let's talk about what's been happening. Despite these luxurious, relaxing settings, it's been quite the 24 hours.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Well,
but it's kind of poopy. We're getting nothing.
This morning was a hectic run all over the place, trying to find some place that can check out our trailer wiring. I didn't have to walk, but I drove to a lot of places because it's kind of like the off season. Everyone's coming off the summer. So a lot of these places are booked up for weeks, if not months right now. So, but I found a place that is currently taking a look at our vehicle to see what is wrong, because our little our electric connection is not wired correctly. So we could be in worse situations. But it's still frustrating. We could be in worse situations. So then that threw our whole timetable off.
Threw everything off. And we had to drive away without our Airstream.
Yeah, there was a lot of built-up anticipation, and then that deflating, like, okay, we're not pulling off and starting the adventure now. We have to wait one more day.
And get a hotel room.
Okay, so talk about driving back and camping.
So when we were driving back, we had to camp in RV parks. And that was not what I expected. Flat and
Hot.
very hot. We were in the desert when we were staying, so there wasn't a lot of greenery, there wasn't a lot of water, there was just rocks. So when I would let the kids, when we would pull in, we're still learning how to properly unhitch and level the Airstream, and we have 3 kids running around. So we were trying to figure that out on the fly. And so we opened the door and I'm like, what are we gonna do? Here kids, look at the rocks. The rocks are great. There's lots of rocks.
They come and they spray paint these things. Yeah. What do you think? Yeah, we had a couple challenging hot days, but then Oklahoma City came and it was the first time that we stayed at a state park, and it was like, yes, this is it.
We had a really great spot. We had a view of the lake. We really had a moment of release just because my dear friend Christy and her family brought us dinner. So they brought us a bottle of champagne and we toasted to our new adventures, and it felt so warm and cozy and like a breath of fresh air, because it was pretty hard before we got to that point, and we had many moments where we said to ourselves, did we just make the biggest mistake of our lives?
But that moment was definitely a game changer, where we had 2 or 3 days of really, really hard travel, driving like 5 hours a day in 90-degree weather.
We thought we broke the Airstream.
Yes. Oh yeah. We should talk about that. Okay, we were in Texas, and
It was our first night.
Yeah. And we hook everything up. And Nicole was cooking, and I'm outside finishing up something, and I see all this water dripping on the edge of the Airstream. Along here. Multiple spots. Not good.
And I look out the window and I see this look on Nolan's face of sheer fright. He was freaking out. And this is the first time we had
Hooked
water up.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there thinking we blew
Something.
a water hose or something. We didn't really understand all the workings.
We're
of
texting the owner furiously, like, has this ever happened to you? What's going on? What in the world?
I shut the water off. Airstream leaking.
Right,
Water.
I shut the water off, like we're freaking out.
And dinner just went. We just stopped dinner.
Yeah. We went to bed that night still trying to figure out what it could be, and then it wasn't until the next day that we realized it was just condensation from the air conditioner.
Because it was really hot.
Just dripping down the side of the Airstream.
Like, then we thought we could have broken something and it would be devastating. Now, if we break something, we need to get that thing fixed, or at least duct taped
Until we get someplace that it can be fixed. I would say one of the most important reasons that we're doing this is to show our kids the world. I know that they're really young. I don't know how much that they're going to remember this, but it feels like if we can set the tone early, then it's worth all the energy and effort and resources and everything that it takes to do this, really. As you hear them whining for food in the background. We also knew that we wanted to document this in some way for ourselves, first and foremost. We didn't even know if we were going to post these things or how much we were going to share about our journey. In fact, we didn't even tell our family that we were doing this until we actually finally were sitting in this thing, because it felt like it was too big of a dream to even speak out loud. And we drove 1,600 miles to get this thing, and we could have driven all that way and it could have not met our expectations, or we could have changed our minds. So we didn't want to start telling everyone what we were doing. It felt like we just had to wait until we were actually doing it to tell people. But as we were figuring out how we were going to talk about doing this, we knew that we wanted to document it for our kids so that they would remember it one day, and so that we would. And then I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and he was the first person that asked me, well, are you going to be taking pictures? Are you going to be telling people about the journeys that you're going to be on? And I told him how we were up in the air about it. And he said, well, please do, because it's like courage for the journey for other people. And I didn't think about it that way until that moment, because we're so inspired by people that do crazy things and go on amazing adventures. And so while our main goal is kind of like hyper focus on just like our little family unit right now, and we do hope that it encourages and maybe inspires anyone that watches it to take risks and to take on adventures, whether they're big or small, right where they're at.
And do the thing. Just go do the thing. You know what the thing is, but just go do the thing.
There's something about all of this too that kind of is bits and pieces of, I think, a lot of our values, because we're like downsizing our life. We're living in less than 300 square feet of space, which is crazy. So it requires us to get rid of a lot of just excess. But we're like, upsizing adventure. Like we
Yeah.
it's like this simultaneous, we want less, but we want more. So that's a pretty good summary of where we've been and how we got here. We'll probably share some more things along the way. We're currently in Colorado and we're heading west to stay warm for the winter.
Thanks for following along and joining us on this adventure.
We're just gonna
Keep looking. Look over in the sky, right up there. No.